So, Pain and Gain stars Mark Wahlberg as Daniel Lugo, Dwayne Johnson as Paul Doyle, and Anthony Mackie as Adrian Doorball. And this movie is based on a true story. I'm not sure how I feel about this movie because, yes, it's entertaining, and yes, it has its, you know, funny moments. However, the fact that it's based on a true story, maybe I'm just getting old, maybe I'm too sensitive, maybe I'm PMSing hardcore or something, but I felt so uncomfortable watching this movie. And the main reason is because it's based on a true story. You I think it's a good idea that Michael Bay decided to uh, put in captions, "This is still a real story." Some part, I think it was when Dwayne Johnson's character was barbecuing the hands outside, that it says so in the corner. And spoiler alert, yes, they do end up getting convicted. I'm not sure how I feel about this movie because it's filmed in a way so that you are sympathetic with these guys, even though they are completely guilty of everything that they did. These guys are criminals, but in the movie they are painted as um these guys that just want to live out the American dream. I mean, Mark Wahlberg's character Daniel Lugo is always talking about how he just wants to be, patriotic, and he just wants to live out the American dream. And to a certain extent, yes, I mean, he did. He felt like he deserved to get what he wanted, and he did what he needed to do to get it, regardless of the means, as by any means necessary type of logic. And that is alright to a certain extent, but this movie kind of glorifies these guys, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. If you just look at it as a movie, just as a whatever movie, just another Michael Bay movie with interesting uh, scenes. I mean, the way that it was shot handheld in some areas was really, really neat. Like first person handheld, that was cool. And the soundtrack was pretty neat. Although I will say that it's kind of lame that they had to have a covered version of Gangster's Paradise as opposed to the original. I don't know why they had to do that. Maybe the rights are just that expensive, but whatever. I mean, just as a movie in and of itself, yeah, it's very entertaining. It's absolutely entertaining, and it has its very, very comical parts. But the fact that while I'm watching it, I know that this is a true story, I feel like I can't enjoy it. And I was just so uncomfortable the whole time. And maybe it was just me. Maybe it is the fact that I don't know, maybe I'm just getting too old for this kind of stuff. But the whole time I was watching it, I was just thinking this isn't right. I should not be enjoying this. And the way they painted Victor Kershaw's character, it they painted him as such an evil guy, even though he was the victim. And it's one of those cases where you blame the victim for what happens to them. And I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't feel comfortable with that at all. Especially when in the true story, he wasn't a jerk off. He wasn't the way he was depicted in the film. And they did interview him, the real person. I mean, this This Victor Kershaw character is a composite of a couple of the victims, one of them being Mark Schiller, and Mark Schiller being the one who was bound and tortured for about a month. And when they asked Mark Schiller how he felt about the way he was portrayed in the movie, he was just kind of like, I'm made into this evil guy, and that's not who I am. And that's not who he is. That is absolutely not who he is. I mean, it's not a complete true depiction of the way things happened, but this movie definitely makes it seem like it is okay for these guys to do what they did, and it's definitely not okay. It is absolutely not okay. And the whole time you're watching this movie, you're kind of siding with these characters. You're kind of feeling like, yeah, well, these guys deserved it. These guys deserve to be, tortured and maimed, and these guys deserve to be messed up beyond recognition because they were jerk-offs. And the truth is, nobody deserves that, regardless of how they act. No, human beings should not be treating other human beings the way these guys treated these people. I I feel so conflicted over this movie because maybe I am thinking too much into it. Maybe I am, taking this movie far more seriously than it should be taken. But if you're gonna be making a movie based on a true story and you're gonna embellish it to the point that you're gonna be siding with the evil characters, I don't know, that's kind of messed up. That's kind of messed up in my mind. I don't know, and I'm interested to see what other kind of reviews this movie is going to get because so far, from what I've seen, people really like it. People seem to find it as a really good comedy, and the fact that people are enjoying it, I don't know how I feel about that. I just think it's messed up. I really think it's messed up. I don't know. I guess these types of movies should not be posing this type of moral dilemma. If anything, they should definitely just be made for entertainment purposes only. However, anyone who's going to take into account the real story, anyone who's going to actually research into what the story is based on would feel the same way. At least I think they would. At least I don't know. As a movie completely separate from this true story. If you just look at this as a movie, then yeah, it's entertaining. They did a good job. But if you look at this movie comparing it to the real story and or trying to be an accurate depiction of what really happened, I you just if ugh ugh it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. Is it just me? I don't. Is it just me who feels that way? That it's not right. It doesn't feel right to be glorifying these guys. I don't know. Just look in the description box, and I put a link to the Miami New Times News article. It's a 3-part series. Like the first 2 parts are about 15 pages, and if you really think about it, 15 pages really isn't that much, especially on the internet. But check out the real story, and I don't know. You tell me, how do you feel? Whether I'm the only person who thinks that this is a terrible thing, or or if maybe I it to appreciate the movie, but really I don't see it, and I couldn't handle it. I couldn't.